My name's Matt Baker and I'm a presenter on The One Show. I also work on Countryfile, and my career started back in 1999 as a Blue Peter presenter. The theme of the collection that I've chosen is landscape, and it's something that's very important to me as a farmer's son. I grew up in the Durham Dales. One thing that always strikes me is how varied our British landscape is. Well, for the first picture, we're going to start quite high up in the north, the Scottish Highlands to be exact, and this painting is called After Rain by Louis Bosworth-Hurt. I love this so much. I think it absolutely captures that moment as soon as the clouds have passed and where the air is still heavy in moisture. You almost get a sense of a really boggy landscape and that your feet are almost, soaking wet, and you can feel your socks squidging about in your boots. This particular artist actually had heard of Highland cattle himself, so he captures the character so well. I love the inquisitiveness of one particular cow there who's just staring right at you. And that's exactly what they do. And at the top of the painting, you can see just a little bit of bright blue. And you know that in just a matter of minutes, as the wind whips through this landscape and takes these clouds away from these valleys, that it's going to be absolutely glorious. We're gently meandering south. I'm going to move on to a moorland landscape now. It absolutely sends shivers down my spine. When I was on Blue Peter, I did the Royal Marines recruits course, getting out into the landscape, being battered by the weather. I can just feel myself there. Enormous hills. You look up there and you think, how on earth am I going to get to the top? And while you're there in this absolute hell, this personal, massive challenge, there's a few sheep that are just looking at you nonchalantly. We're going to hop in the car now and zip all the way down to Exeter. But this doesn't remind me of Exeter at all. What it does remind me of is home. Our farm is up in the Durham Dales. The thing that really strikes me here is this. There's like a telegraph pole just to the right hand side, and we have got the exact same telegraph pole at home. I love the fact that he has featured this, and so we were right never to take it down. The next three paintings that I've chosen are kind of major wow factors as far as British landscape is concerned. This one here is the crater of Snowdon. Now, if you've ever been lucky enough to get up there, and believe me, you don't have to walk, there is a nice little tramway that'll take you to the top, then it's well worth a visit. And I mean, you can see the way that this glacier, carved its way through this landscape and cut out this incredible valley to leave this jagged and harsh edged part of Snowdon. And as well, up on the top left corner, there's a soaring bird. And he's got an even better view than we have. Now, if you want to see the view in the next painting, unfortunately, you cannot have the use of a tramway to get to the top. So there's a real sense of achievement in this view that we're looking at here. It's kind of the southwestern view from Ben Lomond, looking down on Loch Lomond. He was one of the first painters really in Scotland to go up and paint from the location. An incredible feat when you think he had to get all the way up there with his paints and all of that business. Back in 1834, extraordinary. I mean, our hang glide as well. And I love that kind of sense of weightlessness, that you're in a place where you shouldn't be. And it's a very bizarre feeling, but you kind of get that with this. This is a place where birds should be. There's a lady in Regency dress, so that's quite an achievement to get up to this height in a dress. And I think the couple just below, they're just indulging in that sense of achievement, standing, looking out, this breathtaking view. The last of these three kind of iconic landscapes that I've chosen is one of the Lake District, and I think this is Windermere. So obviously the view has changed quite a bit now because it's a very, very popular lake to visit. But there are spots in the Lake District that look very similar to this even today. Just at the bottom of the painting on the right hand side you can see a few folk with a horse, and I think this is a horse ferry. They're going to put this little horse on and then float across Windermere, which is quite an exciting thought. Well, farming is something that is very, very important to me, and this next painting that I've chosen by John Arthur Malcolm Aldridge is a classic arable scene, so, the just growing crops, basically. It's a brilliant time to go into a field, this, when, the combine's been across, it's taken off all the wheat and the barley off the tops, and you're just left with the straw all rolled up and ready to bale. It always, to me, feels like a real privilege to go into a field when it's at that stage. The place that I always wanted to visit, the Hebrides, and I got that chance last year with Countryfile, and it was everything that I hoped it would be. It looks incredibly tropical, and this really hammers home the theme of this collection, really, the varied landscapes of Britain. I mean, you'd look at that, wouldn't you? You'd think you were in the Caribbean. Unless you'd been there and you'd seen it with your own eyes, you'd think, oh no, I mean, he's blued that water up a little bit too much, but it's an incredible place. Well, this painting is Land's End in Cornwall. It was painted in 1842. Well, it's a landscape that hasn't really changed that much apart from the constant erosion of the power of the sea. I've actually explored this landscape from a canoe, and believe me, it's pretty scary and it's pretty awe-inspiring when you're down there in the waves looking back up at these incredible rocks, which I've also cliff climbed. It's a sense of clinging to the edge of the island that we live on, and that is a wonderful thing, to crawl up the place where you live and get the sense that you're just hanging on the edge of it. Really puts you in your place, you know. This to me is the story of the fact that we live on an island.